To me, I don't listen to that much music because I don't want to be influenced too much by sound. I want to sound like myself. But with poetry, it's not influencing me in that way. It's influencing me on like a soul level, kind of. I moved back to Virginia about 3 years ago at the start of the pandemic. I moved there from Los Angeles. It had been kind of so stressful in the city that I just completely relaxed into a really nice kind of natural rhythm. And I was just reminded of what silence is and what quiet is and how important that is. And I wasn't listening to very much music or anything at the time. The music kind of just started. I could hear it, you know, because there weren't all these other sounds happening. So it was almost easier to write because there was all this spaciousness. My parents listened to the Grateful Dead along with bluegrass. It's like Appalachian music, which is kind of where I'm from in Virginia. And then I listened to all the things like Joni Mitchell and Neil Young and Bob Dylan, of course, and the Beatles. I'm not religious. I didn't grow up with any kind of religious background. Kind of nature was our religion. I guess my parents are farmers, so the land was very important. But as I read literature and was studying writing and poetry and, yeah, I guess literature in school, and I actually took a kind of a religious studies course too, and that kind of clued me into the importance of these archetypal symbols and that they are powerful myths that our civilizations are built on. And so when you say a word like, well, even if you say church, everyone has an idea of what that is. And it's very particular to each person, but it still is this kind of understanding that's common to all people everywhere. So I feel like it brings the songs into a more universal space, and it also is tied to the sacred or the holy, even though those spaces and those structures have been used to destroy and murder and, you know, do all these horrible things. It's also kind of reaching for the best in us too. So that's kind of what I'm referencing.
How far is it to the grave? The child looked up from his play. It must be far away, away. It must be far away.
I loved the idea of this poem. I mean, I feel like almost every day you kind of lose sight of the fact that every single moment is just it's all we have, and that it's all gonna be gone someday. And so when I'm freaking out about something that's going on, I try to remember this song and be like, oh, this is so brief, the time that we have here. And so I feel like that's the gift of this song and poem to me, is to remind me that it's very short and sweet, our life, and to remember to enjoy it.
From his ledger, the balance says a little longer. I haven't bought the things I long for.
I am definitely inspired by older poets. I read a lot of Sylvia Plath for a while, which is maybe that 1940s, kind of earlier 1930s maybe. W.H. Auden, I actually wrote a whole song that was one of his poems. So there's a lot of poetry has a big influence, and it's true that it's kind of from that, like maybe early to mid 1900s realm. So that's a good ear. Poetry is always there for me when I feel like I have nothing to say or feel. It's actually probably more that when I have nothing that I feel, poetry can kind of generate feeling for me. I feel like I forget about it sometimes, and then when I get a little bit, I'm like, oh, that's what I was missing. So to me, I don't listen to that much music because I don't want to be influenced too much by sound. I want to sound like myself. But with poetry, it's not influencing me in that way. It's influencing me on like a soul level, kind of. I found the Omnichord because I was looking for this really specific sound that came from an instrument called a nova chord, which is a really rare instrument that I think there's only 200 or so of them left now. And so my friend who was telling me about the nova chord was like, you're not gonna find one of those, but here you can borrow my Omnichord. The minute I started playing it, I just completely kind of fell in love with the way that I was able to sing over it and the songs that were coming through. I had never written to a drum machine before, and that really changed the way that I write.